Exclamation, everybody, and welcome back to Sunday Ramblings in Cube World. Oh, for me right now, it is Saturday night, January the 25th. This is episode 27. Amazing. Just keep on counting upward there. AKA the Best Laid Plans episode. AKA Hope You Like Minecraft. AKA this was not paid for by Microsoft. So many things to make fun of this week. Hopefully, I suspect this is going to be a slightly shorter episode this today, even though I have a lot to talk about. Just because I don't know if my voice is going to hold up or not. So, what's been going on this week? Essentially, I laid out last week my whole plan for how I was going to schedule things out and what videos were going to go up on what days. And then I promptly got sick this week. My voice is actually a lot better right now than it was. I'm actually, surprisingly enough, feeling a little bit stronger voice-wise. We'll see how long that lasts. I tried recording yesterday a little bit, and unfortunately, I only got about 10 minutes in, and I couldn't speak at all. It was all phlegm, all phlegm, no English. Oh, it's that is my explanation for what the hell happened this week. You know, it just goes to show you, never ever make a plan. just don't do it. just shoot from the hip like everybody else. Because damned if I didn't make a plan for how I was going to put these videos up, that I get sick and then I have to alter it. So that's why there was a lot of Minecraft this week. A lot of Minecraft. Play Minecraft, I should say. I can't say Minecraft, or else I'll get a lot of angry responses. It's play Minecraft. And I actually missed a Starbound episode, which I kind of thought I was going to miss anyway, which is why I was kind of on the fence about it last week, because the patch is supposed to come this week. The patch has not come yet. I think it's supposed to come tomorrow or Monday. Well, Sunday or Monday, I should say, because it is tomorrow for you guys. And they're just right now doing internal testing because it has been such a big engine change. They wanted to make sure that everything was good before they rolled it out, which is fine. It's a week later than they want it, but I'd rather it not completely destroy my computer than if I have to wait a week. You know what I mean? I also, because of that, obviously I'm gonna have to start a new character off, but there is something in the works that I'm not going to talk about yet because I'm not sure if it's going to work or not. So I don't want to get any hopes up. But I may be doing something slightly different with Starbound in the future. We'll see. We shall see what happens. And also, you'll notice that I'm starting to do a lot more multiplayer stuff, and that was not really. It was not really intentional. I mean, to a certain extent, it was. My pub crawl series was intentional, but the Minecraft stuff was not. What essentially happened there was I saw a call go out to YouTubers, Let's Players, to join a server that already had a few people on it. Most of them not people who would normally do videos and stuff, and they were kind of they had a problem where the community wasn't very active. They they were looking for new ways of keeping their community thriving and keeping it going. And so they sort of turned to like asking for YouTubers to come over there, because obviously that gives you an incentive to keep on building and keep on trying new things, because you're making videos. And this is sort of my mea culpa as well for not going back to my other Minecraft series. Really, I lost interest in editing them. And of course, as I've mentioned numerous times, my like of Minecraft waxes and wanes as time goes on. But really, some of the things I was trying to do in my FTB world, the reason I lost interest in it was because I wasn't really, the only people I could share it with were on YouTube. I couldn't really share it with anybody in person. You know what I mean? And when you're doing everything yourself, the progress is extremely slow, right? So by being on a multiplayer server, there's always something going on. There's always other things to see, and already you'll see a big difference in my next video there. Already the community has started really building a whole lot of stuff there. So it's nice to see. It's nice to be in something that's active. You know what I mean? So on that same note, all the videos that I had, I've on my hard drive that hadn't been edited yet for both Minecraft Sunshine or Sunrise and for my Minecraft Plus series, I've deleted. So everything, the videos that are on YouTube will stay there. They'll always be there. But the stuff that I was editing or was in the halfway through editing, I just got rid of because it just wasn't any good. And there was no salvaging it, honestly. So that has been replaced with this with the Livecraft Mine server stuff. That is where I'm playing now. I'll be doing that quite a bit. I'm going to try to do, well, I'm not going to say once a week. I'm going to try to do once every other week. Because again, there's a lot of, since it's a survival server, there's a lot of stuff off camera, collecting resources and whatnot. I'm probably going to do a bunch of that resource gathering even on camera. And just sort of turn it into a talky thing. And the building as well, because to be honest, just showing final products does not really give a whole lot of interest, you know what I mean? Plus, I just don't have that kind of time either to just constantly be on there producing final products. Everything that I do is going to be, okay, this is what I have so far, and then, you know, 2 episodes from now I'll come back and put some more effort into it and that kind of thing. So that's good. And a lot of the YouTubers that are on there, it looks like, just from the cursory glance I've taken, both YouTube and people doing live streaming on Twitch, are all relatively small channels, which is nice. It's nice to be around people that are all trying to do their thing, you know what I mean? And they haven't already hit success yet. So that's cool. It's kind of like in that regard, I guess it's like a mini mind crack type of thing going on, which is awesome. Again, Minecraft is one of those things where it seems like the multiplayer is the more appealing thing now than the single player, because it's really that sharing and being on a server with other people that makes it even more interesting than it would be normally. So anyway, that's what's happened there. That's why you see the Livecraft Mine stuff. Again, the only reason there were 2... Now, I don't know... It's probably going to be once every other week. We'll see. We'll see what happens. The only reason there were 2 episodes this week was because, again, I was sick and I needed to... I felt bad about not having any additional videos ready to go. I do have a bit of a backlog, so some videos went up normally, like Soul Zero yesterday, or Soul Zero yesterday for you guys, Saturday for me, today for me. And I have some other things that have a backlog right now. My Play Minecraft stuff, I have a couple more of those ready to go. Well, I have to edit them, but they'll be ready to go. And the what is the name of it? It escapes me now. Oh, Pub Crawl. I have one episode of that I have to edit, and that'll be ready to go for tomorrow, hopefully, or Monday. Yeah, tomorrow for you guys. So that'll be good. And then I'm going to try to play Minecraft stuff twice a week for now. I'll probably pair it up with something else. Most likely Sort of Go, since nobody wants to watch that. And that only has one episode left anyway. And that's just kind of the way I'm rolling with it right now. So I just wanted to catch you guys up a little bit on that and why there was a deviation. I just happened to get sick this week, of course. And you can actually hear it quite a bit more in my Ethereum side quest video that I did to follow up on Ethereum there. I did that. When did I record it? I think I recorded that Wednesday, and that was sort of the height of my illness. So I was able to somehow pull that one off, but you can hear towards the end that my voice was starting to go. So that's it. All went downhill after that. Was it Wednesday or Tuesday? I don't remember which one. Anywho, that, by the way, Ethereum, a new demo was released to that with the final code for that. So that's first 4 missions of the actual game that you get to play for free as a demo. So if you're still on the fence about that, just go over there and take a look at it and see what you like. See if it's something up your alley or not, because you're actually seeing real stuff, the real final products. So awesome. Some other catch-up things here. Adventure Dungeon, I did a side quest for a while ago, and I think version 1.0 or 1.1, I think, at the time. And they're up to 1.5 now. He's doing Winter Drake has done a few. The developer has done a few updates. I think 1.5.3 just went out today, which had some minor bug fixes in it. But he's got a bunch of new features in there. All the items have descriptions now. He's doing a lot of bouncing. In fact, I'm seeing him advertising it a bit on Reddit, on where Let's Players are, and also on Play My Game, which is another subreddit that I lurk around on to try to find stuff. So he's trying very hard to get a balance to the game. Some of the feedback that came through was that it's a bit too rough, a bit too hard. And I could see some of that from what I played, but I'm not really a big, not necessarily a rogue-like guy too much. And I had considered giving him some feedback, but I'm not sure how well my feedback could be. You know what I mean? Like, the only thing I can say is that the roguelike that I most enjoyed was FTL, and I enjoyed that because of the story, or the random events, I should say. Right? I think that the whole appeal to that of me, besides being a sci-fi game, was that it felt like there were enough random events that were actually compelling and interesting that I just kept coming back for more. You know what I mean? Eventually, I did hit all the ones that that were there. It's just, and then after that, there was no real reason for me to keep doing it. But I actually never beat that game either. I got all the way to the end, and I got maybe halfway through the end boss, and then I just couldn't crack it any further than that. But I mean, that's the only advice that I can really give to people doing roguelikes, is that if you have a compelling random events that generate a good story, a compelling story, then you'll keep my attention. I don't know about anybody else, but at least you'll keep mine. I think that's the only thing that Adventure Dungeon sort of was lacking from when I played it, was that there was not a whole lot of reason to keep on. It was like a, hey, I need to kill 10 minutes. Maybe I'm waiting in line or something, and I need to kill 10 minutes. Let me go play this type of thing. More than just, I need to see what is in this next level. I need to see what's around that next corner, because it wasn't really. It was a lot of the same. It was kind of repetitive a little bit in that regard. But it's still improving. So, kudos all around for that. And as always, I'll leave links to it in the description so you can go check it out if you want. It's also free. So the demo is. In fact, I think the whole thing is free if I remember correctly. I don't think he's even charging any money for anything. So hey, if you're looking for a free game, to pass some time, you might want to go check that out. Speaking of other things to go check out, Wings of Saint Nazar is a game I've talked about before in the past, but they just had an update. So it's another Wing Commander alike game, space fighter 3D simulation game with more of a Wing Commander 1 and 2 look and feel to it, where it's more, I don't want to say pixel art, but it's more 2D with a 2.5D. It's more 2.5D than anything else. Although I think it is actually 3D, but it's got that 2.5D feel to it, right? They've just released a new demo as of, what was it, January the 12th. So I have to go check that out. I've tried playing a few of the other demos. First of all, the other demo that they had was just a combat simulator, and I think this is still just a battle simulator. There's no story missions yet. From what I understand, I might be completely wrong about that. I haven't played the recent demo yet. The only problem I had with the other demo was that, and the reason I didn't record it was that it wasn't saving the volume levels correctly, and I couldn't use my joystick because, and I had this problem even with Neon Excesses, which is another game I wanted to feature on my channel, where, and it just happens, they're both Unity games, and I guess it's just a certain Unity driver that does this, where if I plug my joystick in, the game is unplayable. It just, my flight stick that is, it's just, the game is unplayable. I can't, you just constantly spin in place, and you can't control anything. Which meant that I would have to play them with my Xbox controller, which is okay, but it's not really my ideal thing. But the other thing that stopped me from really recording Wings of Saint Nazar, at least before, now maybe this has been fixed recently, was that the sound levels didn't save. So even though I set the sound down to the music down to 20% or whatever, as soon as you got out of the menu, it was right back up to maximum levels again, and it was just a bit too wonky at that point to look at. But now, you might want to go over and take a look at it and see if it's a little bit better and improved. It sounds like it from what I've seen and what I've heard. I just have to go and dig into it myself. I haven't had the chance yet with everything else going on. One thing I did have the chance to do was I saw a Kickstarter come through for a new game called Kingdom Come Deliverance. And good Lord, I got in on it when I think it was the first day. It was, a couple hours after I saw it come down. I don't remember I don't know if I read about it on RPS or I don't remember where I saw it, but got into it within the first couple hours of it being put out on Kickstarter, and at that point it was at like £200,000 that they had raised. And I come back the next day, and they've already well surpassed their goal. They're up to £440,034. Their goal was 300,000, and they still have 25 days remaining as of right now, as of when I'm recording this. They literally hit their goal within the first 36 hours. It's amazing. And they had some, and I forgot to write these down because I'm in a rush here, but they had some, they've come up with some stretch goals too, that they've actually reached 2 of them right now, and I forgot to write them down. So unfortunately, you'll have to go over and look at them. But what is this game? It's a first-person RPG, much like Skyrim. But unlike and much like Skyrim, it's also open world, right? But it takes place in medieval Europe, and they're trying to keep it as, I guess, realistic as they can. They're sort of going for the Daisy / Rust kind of thing, where it's you have to manage your and Arma for that matter. You have to manage your hunger. You have to sleep. You have to do all those normal things that a lot of games take for granted because they may or may not be mechanics that the developers thought were fun. And it's putting that into this medieval Europe setting, which is they're basing the story off of basing it, and I don't know if it's loosely based or heavily based. I have no idea. I'm assuming loosely based off of historical events from medieval Europe, and they're trying to just 15th century Europe. It's like 1402 or 3, I think, is when it takes place. The year that is, and it's they're taking the realism. One of the things that they mentioned was like food in your inventory can go bad. You know what I mean? And you have to sleep. Your character has to sleep. You have to make sure that you're well fed, and I assume that there will be temperature things too. Make sure you have a campfire and all those kinds of things, or you have a place to stay. I assume. I don't know. They didn't make any mention of that. But on top of that, they're also putting some crafting in there. So you can craft. You go mine for silver and craft weapons for yourself. Craft some alchemy. It's not. The alchemy is going to be just that. It's just alchemy. It's not going to be any magical stuff. They're not going to do magic or anything like that. They're going to just try to keep it based in reality, which is awesome. I mean, that's it's rare that you see something like that in an RPG style, right? You see that again in a lot of like games like Arma and all that stuff, but I wouldn't necessarily call Arma an RPG. It's more of an FPS, right? And this is sort of an FPS with RPG elements on it. So kind of a chivalry only, open worldy, that kind of thing. And single player. I don't think they have any plans for multiplayer because it's going to have a story and all that stuff. And speaking of the story, it's going to be, the basics of it is that you're a blacksmith. Your character's a blacksmith, and you've lost everything to war, and you have to, through certain events, you get involved in some intrigue, political intrigue, and the king is kidnapped, and all kinds of interesting stuff from that regard. And from what I read, they're trying to focus mostly on, instead of it being like a, go collect 5 bear carcasses, or stuff like that. They're trying to focus the quests and all that stuff more on the story more on like politics and character interactions, rather than just you know, you're a big badass hero trying to save the world. You're not. That's not what you're trying to do. The battles are not really. Even though you'll be in some epic battles, you know, along with other NPCs, that's not really, from what I understand, the focus, right? The focus is going to be you as an individual and how you handle sort of the back office dealings and all that stuff, and just keep yourself alive, rather than just being this total badass, right? Which is cool. That's a different take on it. And actually, this game that they're coming out with, this is only just Act 1. They're planning on having 3 acts. This first act is going to be, they say, about 30 hours of gameplay, and then all 3 acts together would be something like 70 plus hours. Now I assume that by acts they mean actual games. So I'm assuming Deliverance is the full first act, and then that's all you're getting from the game, and then they'll have a second game that's the second act, and a third game that's the third act. That's my assumption. I don't think they're doing all 3 acts together. It's just the story itself will be told in 3 acts. The other interesting thing that they've put in there is that you can, first of all, the map is 3.5 square miles. It's all open world. They're not doing any procedural generation. They're going to actually handcraft the world in the Cry engine, which means I probably won't be able to record it if my experience with the memory of Eldarim is any indication of how well my computer handles the Cry engine. But it's they're sort of handcrafting it because they're handcrafting the quests too, because they want it to be a certain level of quality, and they don't want it to be, you know, this procedural generation stuff, which is fine. There's a place in the world for all those things, and sometimes it makes sense to have procedural generation, sometimes it doesn't. You know, in this case, they're trying to tell a story. You know what? I'm all for the handcrafted stuff. Also, along that same pathway with the story, they're going to have the branching dialogue that you would expect from an RPG that's heavily story based. But they're going to take it that extra step that sometimes games don't take, either to their detriment or to their betterment, of giving you branches from which there are no return. You know, you make a decision, you talk to somebody, maybe you're a bit cross with someone, with an NPC, and then they don't treat you well after that. They remember it, which is good. I mean, it's, on one hand, for a guy like me that likes to see, you know, all the different endings, it's kind of rough, but as long as the choices in the branching dialogue make sense, then that would make me really happy. You know, to have it where it's like, okay, look, I'm gonna treat this barmaid with the utmost disrespect, and I don't expect her to forget about it. You know what I mean? Or the opposite. And that's cool. It just, again, it's, as long as it's the only way it would be frustrating for me is if it didn't make sense why they were, you know, or what kind of outcome you're going to get. And this kind of happens a little bit with like Mass Effect and all that stuff, where sometimes, you know, in Mass Effect, you didn't actually select the dialogue you were going to say. You selected the kind of attitude your guy was going to have. But sometimes it's ambiguous, right? Sometimes it's like, well, I don't really understand what the difference is between these two branches in dialogue, So you kind of just pick one and wing it, and then you find out that no, that's not really what you want it. And then at that point, there's no return. You know, you've already said it; it's done. So hopefully, if they're going to do this, hopefully they do it in a way that it makes sense as to what you're going to do and what kind of outcome you're going to get. And in some games like Neverwinter Nights and stuff like that, they used to handle it by, well, first of all, saying exactly what your character's going to say, but second of all, they would often, in parentheses, put things like, reduces character's, you know, strength stat or whatever, if you say this, or you do this. So it you know, from a bare RPG standpoint, you were seeing the bare guts of the engine. And you were saying, okay, well, this is the effect that this is going to have. I don't necessarily advocate that they show that, because it does kind of it can break your immersion a little bit, because you're kind of seeing the dice rolls at that point. You know what I mean? But again, if you're very explicit in what, if there's enough variation between the choices, it'll be well understood as to what's going to happen. So, at the same point, though, at the same time that I say that, though, I don't want it to be black and white either, right? And a lot of times they are, just to be explicit. Like, it's like, okay, you know, my one dialogue choice is tell this guy off, or my other dialogue choice is, you know, kiss his ass. And that's, you know, it is explicit, right? It does convey exactly what kind of result you're going to get, but it doesn't, it's not very satisfying, right? There's shades of gray in there that aren't represented. And I hope that they can find a good balance between that. Like, some shades of gray, but also make it understandable as to what's going to happen, without having to show, again, the bare necessities of the engine, the dice rolls going on in the engine, the branch of, you know, pull you out a little bit and say, look, this is what's going to happen next, or look, this is a point of no return here, you know, those kinds of things. So that's kind of cool. Again, there's still 25 days left in that Kickstarter, so feel free to go over there and keep on contributing. They've got some, I mean, they literally this is the funny thing, they hit their goal so quickly that they didn't have stretch goals up yet. They've now updated their Kickstarter to have stretch goals, and again, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, they've already hit 2 of them, and I forgot to write them down. It's just, that's my fault. But they have plenty more listed there, so feel free to go over, take a look at it, you know, watch their video, so on and so forth. They also have an investor, and they did this Kickstarter as a way to sort of show the investor that there was interest in the game. And from what I understand from their last update, their investor is now very interested and is willing to put in any additional money that they need to finish this. So putting down more money for it would still certainly help, and it'll get you perhaps into a game that will be really cool. It'll be an early backer, you know, show them that this is something that you really want to see. So awesome in all those respects. Another game that I have my eye on, it's called Strike Vector. It is, surprise, surprise, a multiplayer game. It's something that I'm looking for potentially to add to my rotation for pub crawl. So I don't think I'll do a side quest on it. I think I'll just integrate it one day into pub crawl. But it's coming out. I just took a look at it because I saw a video go up earlier from a channel that I subscribe to. And I wanted to get in on it because the beta it's going into open beta pretty soon. And it's not up yet on Steam Early Access yet. It's going to go up, from what I saw on there, Tuesday, the 28th So this Tuesday coming up, you'll be able to get into the early access from what I understand. And it's in beta. So I want to get in there and check it out, take a look at it. It's a... best way I can describe it, it is a lot like Star Conflict, which you've seen me play quite a bit in my pub crawl stuff. But they're sort of taking a different approach to it a little bit. They're taking more of an FPS approach to it. So even though you're in a fighter ship, and it is a sci-fi thing, a sci-fi genre, your controls are sort of like more of an FPS type control scheme. So there's mention of like iron sights and stuff like that, which is interesting. I don't know how that's going to work out, but we'll see. Also, there was a mention of sort of a transformer type of thing where you transform into a mech at some point, potentially. I don't know if that's the case or not. I've looked at a few videos, but I haven't really seen it. So I don't know if I'm just mixing my games up here or if I actually did see that for Strike Vector. I don't know. Which would put it sort of in that realm of that other game that I didn't really like too much. That I can't remember the name of. But I didn't like the other game that I'm thinking of. I didn't like because the story was just boring. This one is a multiplayer game, so there is really no story to be had, from what I understand, unless it's co-op. But I don't think there's any co-op in it. I think it's just, you know, player versus player. So you might want to keep an eye on that too. That's coming out on Tuesday, at least for the early beta, early access on Steam. So I'll be taking a look at that to see what it's like, see what it's about. Probably integrated into my pub crawl series, as I said, unless it's not really all that good yet. In which case you probably won't see any videos on it. Or if there's not a whole lot of people playing, then I might just do a side quest of it and then wait for the community to form around it before making it a full multiplayer game. Awesome. My voice so far is holding up. It's holding up a lot better than it did when I tried to record Live Craft Mine, and only got about 10 minutes into it and had to stop. So I think I can go on a little bit longer here. The only other thing I had on my list right now that I want to talk about is, well, there's actually a couple things that I have here from last week, but I will put them on hold until next week and talk about them because I'm kind of winding down a little bit here. But one of the big things that happened this week, in the news anyway, was this idea that it's been revealed that Microsoft had paid some YouTubers, some relatively popular ones, even at that, to hype up the Xbox One, say good things about it. Now, technically, they hired Machinima to do it, so it was only people affiliated with Machinima. Now, that in and of itself is not a big deal. I mean, that happens a lot. I mean, let's face it. If your favorite YouTuber suddenly plays a game that they are not known for playing, more than likely they got paid to do something, even if they haven't revealed it. But really, that's the point that has rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, is that there was no revelation by these YouTubers that they were getting paid to do this, to hype up the Xbox One. And that was because, from what it stands, from what it looks like, Machinima was actually the one that, in their contract with the Let's Players, said that they couldn't put them under a non-disclosure agreement, said that they couldn't say that they have been paid to do it. I don't know what the truth of that is. There hasn't been, from what I understand, any real comment from them other than they did everything right. So, Microsoft is kind of backing away very quickly from it and saying, look, we told them that, they should follow the FCC rules, or FTC rules, I'm sorry. FTC, one of those rules, one of those three-letter agencies. And, that they have to disclose that they were paid for that promotion. And that anything that came after that where they were told that they couldn't disclose that information came from Machinima. So I don't know what really happened there as far as who was in the right and who wasn't, other than the fact that if you're a YouTuber and you're getting paid to say good things about something, you better damn right well be telling your viewers that you're paid to say something good about it, or that you're being paid to promote this thing. Because otherwise you're just harming. You're just creating a landfall of crap on top of yourself at that point. The details of this are that basically Machinima content creators on YouTube were given an extra $3 of CPM, which is cost per thousand or cost per mil, additional in revenue for their advertising campaigns, or in advertising, I mean, if they basically played a game at least for 30 seconds, made a 30-second video of them playing a game on the Xbox One, and talking about the benefits, or even being neutral about the Xbox One, not being overly negative about it, but being at least either positive or neutral about the Xbox One and its capabilities and features. Basically, good old marketing. Hey, Xbox One is kind of good. Here, it's kind of awesome. Go buy it, possibly. And here's this game that's awesome on it, and here's why. Here's a game. Here's some gameplay footage. Pretty standard stuff. What wasn't really standard was that, again, Machinima told their partners to conceal the fact that they were paid for it, and it was a very small scale, relatively speaking, marketing thing, right? I mean, they had a cap on it of 1.25 million views, right? So literally, Microsoft paid Machinima $3,750 total for this marketing campaign, and presumably they passed some or most of that onto the YouTubers themselves, right? That's which for a YouTuber who's that's an extra $3 in CPM is fairly good. It's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. I mean, when you think that the normal CPM is like fractions of a cent, to suddenly get $3 per view, per impression, right, of ads on your channel for that video, and if you have, say, 1,000 views or 10,000 views on it, that's a good chunk of money. It's a good chunk of money. I'm not going to do the math because I'm bad at math, but it's a very good chunk of money, considering that normally it's fractions and fractions of a cent, and then even then it's what, 30% of that fraction of a cent. I think all told. Of course, I'm just pulling numbers out of my ass here because I'm not part of any multi-channel network, and I don't plan on ever being a part of one. I don't plan on making any money off of this either. So there's that. I'm just going based off of things that I know from writing code to integrate with AdWords and all that stuff. So some of these terms are familiar to me because I was writing a third-party software to sort of make a better AdWords management tool. Or I was part of that anyway. But yeah, I couldn't tell you actual numbers because I just don't know them. But so that's kind of blown up a lot this week. There's been a lot of talk about it on YouTube channels and what is appropriate and what isn't appropriate. And to be honest, I'll echo some of the things that Total Biscuit has said on this. It's really, YouTubers are kind of in a weird place, right? Where we're kind of journalists and we're kind of not, right? Like me, for instance, I don't get paid to do any of this. But in some capacity, even though I'm sitting here playing Cube World, in some capacity I am a journalist, right? I am, even though I'm just playing a game and I'm just commenting and all that stuff, I am presenting a game in a positive light, and I'm also critiquing it as I go along. And I do critique games as I go, mostly because you need to add that little extra flair, right? Otherwise, you're just plagiarizing what was there. So there are parts of it where you're sort of being a journalist, right? People are coming to your videos and looking and saying, "Oh, I wonder what this game looks like, and I wonder how this game plays." And they're watching your video and they're hearing what you say about what's good about it and hearing what you say what's bad about it, what you like and what you don't like. So there is some of that. There are some people who will use that in their buying decisions. So you can be very impactful as far as the bottom line of these companies go. So from that respect, yeah, you have to really be careful to disclose that, you're being paid as a marketer, essentially, for this game. And I guess the real question comes down to where the lines get blurry, right? Because again, this is still a relatively new area of stuff, right? YouTube is still relatively a new thing. And it's like there are no ethics that have been devised yet. It's really just seat of your pants, see what you can do and see what you can get away with, right? So who's to say what is right and what isn't right other than the viewers, right? I mean, they're ultimately the only ones that can say what they like and what they don't like you doing. And I kind of, from my perspective, I sort of skirt around it a little bit because I try to only show things on here that I've paid for or that are free games. So if developers came to me and said, "Oh, I want you to here's a review copy, or here's a free copy of the game, I want you to go play a video of it," I personally would be a little bit weirded out, and I probably may or may not engage in that because I really want this to be, because it's a gray area. So for me at least, but I'm not going to say any more about it because it's just, it doesn't really apply to me. Anyway, my voice is kind of going right now, so I'm going to end it here. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you next week.